3I Atlas was discovered on July 1st by the NASA-funded Atlas survey. It was discovered using their telescope at Rio Hurtado in Chile, and it was first detected as a speck of light moving relative to background stars.
Yes, there is explicit science we can learn by studying the universe that can be directly applied to activities and conflicts here on Earth, but more broadly, it's a scientific worldview.
3I Atlas was first spotted on July 1st by NASA's Atlas survey, and from the very beginning, whispers about this strange object carried a sharp edge of unease. It became only the third confirmed interstellar visitor after the enigmatic Oumuamua and the comet Borisov. Yet astronomers quickly realized this was not simply another cosmic drifter. Its trajectory alone hinted that it did not belong to the familiar family of worlds born inside our solar system. Now, the James Webb Space Telescope has stripped away the shadows that once cloaked it, and what those observations reveal is nothing short of chilling. What was supposed to be just an icy vagabond from a distant star has instead unveiled a web of anomalies, chemical, structural, and dynamical, that shatter the very rules planetary science has depended upon for decades. Before we dive deeper, smash that like button and subscribe for more revelations from the edge of the unknown. The new data paints a portrait that is anything but ordinary. 3I Atlas is not a random shard of debris wandering aimlessly through the void. Its surface is arranged in precise, layered formations, utterly inconsistent with natural comets or asteroids. Instead of the expected chaotic stew of ice and stone, Webb's spectrometers revealed repeating bands of material, geological strata that look almost as if they were deliberately assembled rather than naturally accumulated. Even more startling, these layers contain exotic silicates that should not exist in any stellar nursery we know, sitting beside carbon-rich compounds of staggering complexity. Some of these molecules form intricate polycyclic patterns, teetering between the edge of organic precursors and something far stranger. Polymers that whisper of engineering, not chance. For astronomers who are trained to expect randomness in nature's handiwork, the patterns etched across 3I Atlas feel disturbingly intentional. Its surface does not speak of chaos, but of design, segmented with a precision that whispers of purpose. And then there are the thermal signatures, perhaps the most unsettling clue of all. A typical comet flares and cools unevenly, its frozen surface cracking and venting whenever sunlight lashes against it. But Webb's mid-infrared eye saw something very different. Vast regions of 3I Atlas maintained a steady temperature, a near-perfect thermal balance, even as the object rotated and shifted under the sun's changing glare. That is not the fragile behavior of an icy wanderer bleeding gas into space. It is something else entirely, a form of thermal regulation, the kind we associate with insulation, heat sinks, or even active systems designed to move and redistribute energy. Mainstream scientists resist making the leap, but the truth presses in. Nothing in standard astrophysics explains this level of control, and the unease only deepens when its orbit is studied more closely. 3I Atlas does not obey the simple hyperbolic path of a natural visitor pulled by gravity alone. Instead, its course bends and wavers in subtle but persistent ways, deviations that Webb's unmatched precision can no longer ignore. These shifts cannot be dismissed as the familiar push of cometary jets. There is no detectable outgassing, no natural thrust. The object drifts as if moved by hidden forces within, or by influences we have yet to even imagine. The strange motions of 3I Atlas echo an older mystery, the unexplained accelerations that once surrounded Oumuamua. But this time, the evidence is far clearer, far harder to dismiss. What chills astronomers most is not just that the anomalies exist, but that they follow a rhythm. These are not random fluctuations. They arrive like clockwork, repeating again and again, as though governed by an unseen cycle. Webb's data revealed synchronized changes in brightness, thermal emission, and spectral lines, each shift recurring at intervals too precise to belong to chance. The effect is haunting, like the tick of a mechanism hidden within, a process unfolding on a timetable that does not match the behavior of any known comet or asteroid. Every recurrence sharpens the suspicion that this is no passive relic of some forgotten star system. Something once functioned here, and perhaps, astonishingly, still does. The chemical evidence only deepens the unease. Layer after layer of data shows isotopic ratios that defy the laws of stellar evolution. Certain heavy isotopes appear in bizarre overabundance, while others are missing entirely, shredding the expected fingerprint of natural cosmic formation. And so, two unsettling possibilities remain. Either 3I Atlas was born in a stellar cradle utterly unlike anything our models can imagine, a place alien not just in distance, but in physics itself, or it endured processes of deliberate refinement, sorting its elements with unnatural precision. The first would demand a rewriting of astrophysical law. The second whispers of something far more dangerous: intention. Most scientists hesitate to say the words aloud, yet the sheer scale of 3I Atlas makes silence impossible. This is no small shard like Oumuamua. Webb's refined measurements of albedo and density paint a staggering portrait, a body larger, denser, and far more massive than anyone first believed. Yet its behavior betrays something even stranger: signs of hollowness. Gravitational interactions with surrounding dust and gas suggest internal voids, as if the object's bulk is not solid rock, but a shell layered with precision, a shell that manages its own heat, a shell that, to the disquiet of many, looks less like geology and far more like architecture. If true, the implications stretch beyond science fiction into planetary defense itself. Because if something this immense can slip past our watchful sky surveys, appearing only once it is already inbound or outbound, then humanity's strategies for space hazard management are terrifyingly fragile. 3I Atlas is not aimed at Earth, but its very existence raises the darker possibility that others like it could be wandering unseen, some on less merciful paths. And if such bodies carry internal dynamics or propulsion-like anomalies, then our most trusted orbital models become useless. You cannot predict what does not obey the rules. Yet perhaps the greatest weight is not the danger, but the meaning. For centuries, humanity has speculated about other minds hidden in the cosmos. Rarely, though, has observational astronomy itself cornered us into confronting the question head-on. Bluntly put, Webb's data does not deliver answers. It delivers whispers. Whispers that shape themselves into patterns disturbingly close to intentional design. If 3I Atlas is natural, then nature itself is far stranger, more deliberate, and more capable of structured complexity than humanity ever dared believe. If it is artificial, then we are not merely looking at a comet. We are staring at ruins, or the dormant husk of something engineered in a star system, whose name we may never know. Either possibility stretches the boundaries of imagination until they fracture, and yet, the silence that follows does not ease the blow. Because even without aftermath, the arrival of hard data from the most powerful telescope humanity has ever built has already shifted the axis of thought. Astronomers who once scoffed at talk of alien probes now find themselves confronting the unsettling truth. Whatever 3I Atlas may be, it cannot be explained within the safety of our current models. Astrobiologists, cosmologists, and physicists are scrambling to construct hypotheses, yet each theory only births more troubling questions. Science thrives on anomalies, but this is no ordinary puzzle piece. It feels like a tear in the puzzle itself, a breach in the comforting picture of how the universe is supposed to work. We expected clarity about interstellar comets, insights into formation, chemistry, and the hidden building blocks of distant suns. Instead, Webb has handed us something else entirely, an object that dissolves the boundary between the natural and the unnatural, between randomness and intention, between the blind hand of physics and the unmistakable shape of design. The true danger of 3I Atlas is not just in what it is, but in what it does to the fragile frameworks of our understanding. If one such body exists, how many others drift unseen through the abyss? If it is natural, why are they so vanishingly rare, and what exotic, almost impossible processes could have birthed them? And if it is not, then what is its origin? And perhaps most chilling of all, are we looking at something abandoned or something merely asleep? Every line of Webb's spectral data, every plotted shift in its orbit, every rhythmic pulse of its thermal emission only tightens the knot of unease. The implications stretch far beyond astronomy, bleeding into philosophy, theology, security, even the very sense of what it means to be human. To gaze upon 3I Atlas is to confront a universe that is not just stranger than we imagine, but stranger than we can bear to imagine. This revelation is not a tidy addition to textbooks. It is not a neat discovery filed away under cometary science. It is an open door to a darker, vaster reality. A reality where the unknown does not simply wait to be observed, but stares back with patterns and complexity that defy comprehension. The Webb Telescope's encounter with 3I Atlas has already marked a turning point. Oumuamua was a whisper, a fleeting hint that our cosmic neighborhood might be more intricate than we thought. But 3I Atlas, it is no whisper. It is a thunderclap, one that shakes not only the foundations of planetary science, but the very pillars of human imagination. What makes 3I Atlas so deeply disturbing is not simply that it is strange, but but that its strangeness is layered, deliberate, and maddeningly resistant to the explanations that usually tame astronomical anomalies. Webb's imaging spectrograph exposed something even more unsettling. The reflective zones across its surface are not scattered at random. They are arranged with uncanny regularity, forming vast streaks that stretch for kilometers, aligned in near-perfect parallel. On Earth, such symmetry would conjure the fingerprints of engineering, and though astrophysicists bite their tongues before speaking such words aloud, the silence between them is telling. No precedent exists for an interstellar object bearing this kind of ordered external patterning. To suggest that both the composition and the alignment of those reflective bands emerge from blind natural processes stretches probability to its breaking point. The interior modeling only compounds the unease. Density calculations, gravitational influence, and rotational data reveal a spin rate far too steady for a wandering mass of rock and ice. Unlike the irregular asteroids we know, wobbling from ancient impacts, tumbling unevenly as they drift, 3I Atlas rotates with a serene, almost defiant stability. Its axis holds true, unwavering, like a gyroscope finely tuned to perfection. To remain so balanced after light years of travel demands a mass distribution of extraordinary precision. Even our most well-studied asteroids, under constant observation, betray clumsy scars of chance. But here, in this visitor from the stars, is equilibrium that borders on design. And when coupled with its impossible chemical composition, the picture it paints is one that pushes astronomy past the horizon of comfort and into the shadowed realm of speculation. Webb's spectrographs uncovered something almost too strange to process: spectral signatures resembling fluorinated carbon compounds. In nature, such substances are vanishingly rare, but in human industry they are common, prized for their resistance to extreme conditions. To find echoes of them in an interstellar visitor cannot be shrugged off as coincidence. If the readings are confirmed, they point to chemical processes utterly alien to the chemistry that governs stars and their worlds. What unsettles scientists most is not that exotic chemistry exists, we have models for that, but that these compounds mirror materials humanity itself engineers. The parallel is unnerving, a resemblance too sharp to comfortably dismiss, even if researchers hesitate to speak the words outright. And then there is the way 3I Atlas disturbs its surroundings. Dust near its path lingers oddly, clinging longer than physics predicts before scattering. Some grains even appear to deflect at consistent angles, as if nudged by a structured electromagnetic field. Webb's instruments are not designed to hunt magnetism, yet the data whispers of hidden forces shaping the dust into patterns of order where only chaos should reign. Most interstellar objects carve through the medium indifferently, their gravity and occasional gas jets dictating the dance of surrounding particles. But here, the evidence suggests something more: an unseen sheath, an aura, perhaps even a shield, that redirects matter in its wake. Plasma, exotic magnetism, or something crafted. The question gnaws louder with every new measurement. And then the light curves arrive, the most chilling revelation yet. Normally, a rotating body flashes its brightness in irregular bursts, shaped by its uneven surface. But with 3I Atlas, Webb recorded luminous variations, repeating with near-perfect harmony. Cycles so steady they feel less like nature and more like signal. The cycles persisted even after every correction for rotation and geometry, leaving only one haunting conclusion: the modulation comes from something deeper than reflected light. To put it plainly, 3I Atlas does not just shine, it pulses. Not like the radio beacon of a distant pulsar, but in invisible and infrared wavelengths, flashing in intervals so precise they feel engineered. No clear message has been decoded, yet the very fact of periodic output from what should be an inert fragment of ice and stone is profoundly disturbing. The strangeness demands comparison. Oumuamua baffled scientists with its inexplicable acceleration and needle-like shape, igniting debates that still burn years later. Borisov, by contrast, was a relief. A classic comet, behaving exactly as the textbooks promised. For a moment, the cosmos seemed orderly again. But 3I Atlas has shattered that comfort. Where Oumuamua left us with ambiguity, this new visitor leaves us with data. Hard numbers recorded by the most powerful telescope ever built. Numbers that cannot be waved away as illusions or mistakes. It is larger, more intricate, more disciplined in its structure than anything seen before. And it leaves far less room for the soothing refuge of natural explanations. The implications reverberate far beyond astronomy. For planetary defense experts, the nightmare is not simply this object, but the possibility of more. If others like 3I Atlas drift through the galaxy, then our skies are not visited by random wanderers. They are intruded upon by a new class of body, larger than comets, stranger than asteroids, and defiant of the models we trust to keep us safe. One of the grimmest implications is this: if even a single body like 3I Atlas were ever set on a collision course with Earth, we might be powerless to stop it. Our defense strategies depend on predictable physics, on knowing an object's mass, momentum, and the effect of a push or a blast. But what happens when the object doesn't play by those rules? What if it hides hollow structures, self-regulating systems, or dynamics we cannot predict? In such a scenario, every plan to nudge or deflect collapses before it begins. And then comes the question of its birthplace. If the isotopic anomalies Webb detected are accurate, then 3I Atlas is not kin to anything forged in our familiar stellar nurseries. Its elemental ratios speak of an environment far outside the metallicity norms of the Milky Way's arms. That leaves us with two haunting possibilities. Either it is unimaginably ancient, a survivor from a time when the galaxy's chemistry was radically different, or it hails from a region where astrophysical processes are unlike anything we know. Either way, what we are observing is not just a traveler, it is matter carrying a foreign history, a messenger embedded with secrets from another epoch, or another corner of the galaxy entirely. And yet, perhaps the most unnerving feature of all is its silence. Unlike pulsars, quasars, or even the noisy jets of comets, 3I Atlas emits nothing obvious across the spectrum. Instead of screaming across the spectrum, 3I Atlas only whispers, faint modulations, subtle pulses so quiet that only Webb's unmatched sensitivity can detect them. And this quiet is, in its own way, more terrifying than noise, because silence implies absence, but whispers suggest layers we cannot yet hear. What if Webb's instruments are only brushing the surface? What if tuned receivers for radio or high-energy photons would unveil an entirely different reality? Until those answers arrive, we linger in a suspended state of ignorance, aware of the strangeness but blind to its full depth. The unease in the scientific community springs from two clashing fears: the fear of the unknown and the fear of recognizing the familiar in a place it should not exist. One possibility is that 3I Atlas is natural, yet so extreme that it forces us to rip apart the foundations of planetary science. The other is that it is not wholly natural at all, and that path leads to implications humanity has never prepared to face. One shatters our intellectual comfort. The other threatens our very existential comfort. And time is against us. Like Oumuamua 3I Atlas will not linger. Its steady motion out of the solar system means each observation Webb secures becomes precious, every window closing faster than we can react. Yet the cruel irony is this: the more data we capture, the more the mystery deepens. No clarity comes, only multiplying questions. Soon, 3I Atlas will fade back into the void. What it leaves behind is not answers, but a dossier of riddles carved in light. Humanity will be left staring at the wake of an enigma, powerless to chase it, powerless to catch it, watching as the greatest mystery in living memory slips beyond reach. That helplessness may be the most haunting truth of all, the realization that the universe can lay a riddle at our feet, only to snatch it away before we are ready to solve it. Webb's raw data raises not just scientific puzzles, but questions about how humanity should even handle discoveries of this magnitude. By releasing the findings unfiltered, transparency was preserved, but it also means the wider world now stares directly into anomalies with no framework to catch them, no safety net of explanation. The result is an uneasy brew of awe, fascination, and dread. Scientists urge caution, but the sheer strangeness of the evidence fuels darker interpretations in the public imagination. In this way, the event is no longer only about astrophysics. It is about sociology, about how a civilization metabolizes truths that fracture its expectations. How do we, as a species, live with mysteries that refuse to be domesticated? Looking forward, 3I Atlas may become a threshold symbol, the moment astronomy crossed into a new era. With Webb's watchful eye scanning the skies for years to come, more interstellar visitors will almost certainly be found. If they prove as bizarre as this one, then humanity must confront not just diversity, but the possibility that we are not alone in shaping matter on cosmic scales. But if 3I Atlas remains unique, it will stand apart, a solitary monument to the unknown, a reminder that the universe sometimes drops enigmas into our backyard, with no intent to explain them. And the most unsettling truth is this: we may never know what 3I Atlas truly is. Already the telescope's revelations have pressed us past the boundary of comfort, leaving us standing at the edge of speculation. Every detail, from its reflective bands etched with eerie precision to its impossible isotopic fingerprints, speaks of a complexity that outruns our categories. What Webb has given us is not simply an interstellar object, but a mirror held up to our ignorance, reflecting the fragile limits of human comprehension. Whether natural or artificial, benign or ominous, 3i Atlas embodies the worst-case scenario for expectation itself. Not apocalypse, not salvation, but uncertainty, vast, relentless, and unresolved. Thus, the story of 3i Atlas lingers like an open wound in our cosmic understanding. The James Webb Space Telescope, built to glimpse the birth of galaxies, has instead exposed a riddle drifting through our very neighborhood, an encounter frozen in time, stripped of aftermath, and yet heavy with implications, something we cannot name, cannot categorize, and cannot chase. And that truth weighs more than any disaster imagined on a movie screen, precisely because it does not come with fire or spectacle. It comes with silence, with disorientation. It reveals a universe not only vast, but profoundly alien, stubbornly resisting every attempt to make it familiar. Each dataset Webb has returned has added another shard to a puzzle that refuses assembly. What makes this moment unforgettable is not just the strangeness of 3i Atlas, but the way it corners us into confronting the foundations of astronomy itself. And beyond that, the assumptions of what it means to study reality. 3i Atlas is not only strange, it is transformative. A thunderbolt reminding us that the universe is not ours to define, but ours to endure in all its chilling mystery. The deeper one dives into Webb's findings, the harder it becomes to dismiss 3i Atlas as just another curiosity to be cataloged and forgotten. By its very nature, it demands new frameworks of thought. One of the most startling revelations came not from its chemistry, but from the way it interacts with the solar wind. Normally, when streams of charged particles from the sun slam into an unprotected body, they scatter chaotically, spraying into space as a diffuse glow or a comet's tail. But Webb's instruments captured something astonishing. 3i Atlas responds in order, not chaos. The particles appear to bend, redirected in arcs, as though encountering a coherent system instead of a random surface. This is not the signature of a comet, an asteroid, or even a planetary magnetosphere. It is something stranger, an interaction that looks alarmingly like a shield. Stable, consistent, efficient, repelling solar wind in ways nature has never shown us before. Which leaves the inevitable question, what hidden structure, what internal property could generate such control? If it is natural, then it is a plasma phenomenon unlike anything ever documented in astrophysics. If it is not, then we are staring at uncharted territory, where the language of geology and astronomy no longer suffices. And the mystery deepens still further. Webb's data shows that 3i Atlas does not simply endure sunlight, it handles it. Unlike ordinary interstellar objects that scorch unevenly as they spin, this one displays a balance in its heating, as though energy itself is being carefully managed. Ordinary comets warm unevenly, their surfaces cracking and fracturing as they turn away from the sun. But 3i Atlas behaves differently, unnervingly differently. It redistributes heat as though equipped with an internal transfer system, a hidden conductivity that spreads energy evenly across its form. Imagine an object that warms like a perfectly insulated sphere, no matter where the light strikes. This uniform heating prevents the stress fractures that would normally tear icy bodies apart, allowing it to remain whole against the violent temperature swings of space. Such resilience suggests that 3i Atlas is not a fragile traveler, but a survivor, a relic of deep time that has passed star after star without fragmenting. It endures where others fail, and that endurance carries unsettling implications. A body this resistant to thermal stress and cosmic bombardment could, in theory, survive for billions of years, crossing unimaginable gulfs of space without breaking. That means 3i Atlas may not be just an interstellar visitor from a neighboring system. It could be far older, far more traveled, perhaps even intergalactic in its origin. To imagine holding in our telescopes an object that may have wandered across the void between galaxies is to confront scales of time and distance that overwhelm comprehension. Within its layers could lie the chemical record of environments no human eye will ever see. And yet the isotopes deepen the mystery further still. Among the most baffling findings are the imbalances in oxygen and nitrogen. The ratios of lighter to heavier isotopes don't align with stellar nucleosynthesis as we know it. Instead, they look optimized, as though something stripped, enriched, or selectively refined them, favoring certain isotopes while discarding others. Natural cataclysms, supernovae, neutron star collisions can warp isotopic balances, but never with the razor-sharp precision seen in 3i Atlas. The skew is so extreme it points to one of two impossibilities: a birthplace with utterly alien chemistry, or a refining process at work. And refinement is not the language of stars, it is the language of industry. Webb's high-resolution imaging brought yet another shock. When scientists probed the object's surface roughness, they found something that should not exist in deep space: astonishing smoothness. Across stretches hundreds of meters wide, the terrain of 3I Atlas is flatter, cleaner, more uniform than Earth's most eroded deserts. Natural bodies bombarded by micrometeorites for millions of years bear scars, craters, ridges, chaotic fractures. But this visitor defies the rule. Instead, it reveals vast plains of seamless texture, interrupted only by the reflective streaks seen earlier. The implication is inescapable. Something has erased, resisted, or prevented the accumulation of impact scars. Whether it is an unknown erosion process or something stranger, deliberate smoothing, perhaps, it reinforces the sense that this object refuses every natural category we try to force upon it. Even its spin defies expectation. Most asteroids and comets tumble in fits and starts, their rotations governed by fragile cohesion. Too fast, and they shatter. Too slow, and they wobble unpredictably. But 3I Atlas? It rotates with eerie discipline, a rhythm so exact it borders on mechanical. Throughout Webb's long campaign of observation, 3I Atlas never wavered. No measurable drift in its rotation, no subtle nudge from solar heating, no gravitational tug that left a scar of motion. It spun with the poise of a tuned instrument, as if set long ago to this exact rhythm, and determined never to deviate. Such stability implies either internal cohesion beyond anything nature has crafted, or some unknown stabilizing process at work. Its coloration only deepens the puzzle. Visible light imaging, paired with Webb's near-infrared gaze, revealed hues unlike the muted grays and rusty reds that cloak most asteroids and comets. Instead, 3I Atlas gleams in strange bluish tones at select wavelengths, contrasted by sharp black absorptions at others. The effect is haunting, a palette not seen in any solar system body. These colors are not merely aesthetic, they are chemical riddles. They point to compounds stable only in the harsh crucible of interstellar space, materials entirely absent from our catalog. If confirmed, they would represent additions to the varied library of known matter, rewriting the periodic map humanity has lived by. And still, the anomalies multiply. Dynamically, 3I Atlas does not wander like a leaf in the galactic wind. Its trajectory seems too deliberate, too aligned. Some astronomers have begun whispering that its path echoes the flows of interstellar gas threading along the Milky Way's spiral arms. If true, then 3I Atlas is not adrift in chaos, but gliding along the great currents of galactic dynamics, a leaf carried by a cosmic river. On its own, this need not imply artifice, but it carries a disturbing implication, that such travelers may be far more common than we dared expect, hidden among these invisible streams, waiting to drift silently past our world. Even more striking is what Webb did not see. No volatile outgassing. Oumuamua baffled scientists with its unexplained acceleration, despite the absence of visible jets. Yet, 3I Atlas takes that mystery further. An even stronger silence, even closer to the sun, where ice should have erupted into vapor. It did not. This leaves only two options. Either its surface is composed of materials so non-volatile they defy expectations, or it possesses a way of locking its contents inside, sealing itself against release. A body with no ices would be shocking, given the brutal conditions of interstellar travel. Survival usually demands frozen reservoirs, but a body that retains volatiles, suppressing their escape, hints at something stranger still, an outer skin engineered by physics we do not yet understand. The implications ripple far beyond astrophysics. For planetary geologists, 3I Atlas defies our understanding of how matter arranges itself on large scales. For physicists, its isotopic fingerprints point to processes that demand a new language of stellar chemistry. And for engineers, the resilience of its structure raises uncomfortable echoes, parallels with insulation, with shielding, with materials science not born of geology, but of design. For philosophers, 3I Atlas reopens a wound once thought closed. The question of whether the universe carries design in places we long assumed only chaos. Each discipline sees in it the reflection of its own limits. And one avenue of speculation, though cautious, cuts deeper than most: the possibility of dormant technology. Not the sensational image of a functioning alien craft prowling the stars, but something subtler, the remains of what once was. If an advanced civilization rose and fell somewhere in the galaxy, their artifacts, stripped of power and weathered by cosmic time, might masquerade as natural objects. To the naked eye, they would be anonymous stones adrift in the dark. Only under the scrutiny of instruments like Webb would their anomalies bleed through, revealing strangeness that cannot be ignored. 3I Atlas, with its layered strata, impossible isotopes, and unnatural stability, fits uneasily into that profile, a relic perhaps worn into disguise by aeons. Even if this interpretation proves false, the fact that it cannot be dismissed outright changes everything. The psychological weight of such a possibility cannot be overstated. Humanity has always looked upward seeking meaning, but never before has the evidence so forcefully blurred the line between what is natural and what is not. For centuries, science has leaned on a principle. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Yet, 3I Atlas provides something more unsettling. Evidence that refuses to conform at all. Not confirming, not denying, only suspending us in ambiguity. And paradoxically, this is worse. Certainty, even of the extraordinary, is easier to live with than endless doubt. 3I Atlas has given us ambiguity at a scale humanity has never faced. And its timing makes the wound sharper still. With Webb now at the height of its power, humanity has entered an era of cosmic exploration deeper than any before. We expected to chart exoplanets, to peer at ancient galaxies, to unravel the chemistry of newborn stars. Instead, Webb turned its gaze closer, to a lone wanderer passing through our own celestial neighborhood. And what it revealed is more disturbing than the faint light of the universe's first suns. The juxtaposition is staggering. We can see across billions of light years, tracing the glow of the earliest galaxies. Yet here, in our immediate backyard, lies an enigma we cannot explain. As 3I Atlas drifts outward on its path, one truth becomes undeniable. This encounter will not end with answers. The data Webb has captured is extraordinary, yes, but it is finite, constrained by the brief window of its passage. There will be no daring intercept, no last-minute probe fast enough to chase it down. The object will vanish into the void, leaving us with fragments of truth, fragments that breed more fear than clarity. And perhaps that is the most unsettling outcome of all, that the James Webb Space Telescope, built to illuminate the unknown, has instead placed in our hands an unsolvable riddle, a question with no resolution, only echoes in the dark. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more deep space mysteries. Share it with others who wonder about the unknown, and leave your thoughts about James Webb's haunting revelations on 3I Atlas in the comments below. We want to hear your perspective. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.